Oh, they had like topless darts and that sort of stuff.
Topless darts and things. But, you know, it was what it was at the time, and I think it did get us some publicity. I think me, you, and Kerry had a good match on there that I think got us, I wouldn't say recognised, but it got us a little bit at the time of publicity.
Absolutely.
Is it fair to say that Doug Williams, the wrestler at the time, was completely different to the chap that actually made his name later on? Style of wrestling?
Yeah, I think so, because obviously I hadn't fully developed, you know, the what I did in the ring or who I was or any of that. It was still kind of early days, even 5, 6 years in. You're still kind of finding your feet. And I just went with the flow then, you know what I mean? And they tried to develop characters for people, but I'm not sure they really knew what they were doing. And you know, you talk about that three-way. It was good fun, but it was just us doing. You know, we just went out there and had fun.
It was an ECW. I mean, there was a time period. I did an interview the other day. There's a time period where me and you were going out and doing matches, and we would just go out, have fun, do whatever we wanted, throw some moves in, hit each other with chairs, and it was just that time period of 99, 2000. Where it was best match of the night was Stevie Knight and Doug Williams, best match of the night. And if you look back now, we were doing nothing at all. It was just that style of wrestling that wasn't being done at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, certainly not in this country, but yeah, and to us it was just kind of, well, that wasn't really that much, you know. It wasn't really, you know, we wouldn't consider it a great match because we look at things differently to how a punter might look at it, but. Yeah, you're right. I think it's just that period in time, 1999, 2000, you know, ECW and WWE were kind of creating that kind of attitude era, and people were following suit with that, you know, and it's not difficult doing that sort of stuff, is it, really?
No, it's really not. It's really not. But good fun. Absolutely good fun. Yeah. Now, one night I do want to talk to you about, because another thing people ask me about. Do you remember our hotel stay at Wrestle Express for the night? I think you actually went home, but do you remember the actual evening when we went out for the meal, Doug, for Wrestle Express?
I do not, no.
You did? Then I may as well skip this question. If you do not remember this, I'll just skip it. You don't remember
skip it? No, now I'm intrigued. No, you can't leave it there. That's ridiculous.
You don't remember the drunken man having a conversation with you about Wrestle Express?
No, I don't.
You don't.
I don't, and I wish I did now. So much I forget.
You don't remember him rolling your arms up, feeling your arms and things?
Oh, God, no. Oh, my goodness.
Then we better skip that. You either do remember, and you do not want me to mention that, or you genuinely have had too many bangs to the head.
Yeah, no, I genuinely have, because I just don't remember that.
I think you absolutely remember to that.
Hey, no.
I think you absolutely remember.
You know.
So after all of this stuff, this is kind of where... I packed up, I finished. We'd done a lot together at this point.
Sure.
You were really starting to make your name out on the British scene. You started doing a lot for Brian Dixon and things. Obviously, when you started for Dixon, did you see a big difference from when you'd gone with Hammerlock and UWA and you were working with what I suppose you could class was the newer school of guys, you know, with Johnny Storm and Alex and people like that. And then you started working a lot with the Kendos and people like that.
Yeah.
How was the difference in the changing rooms? How was the difference in the working style?
Oh, yeah, it's interesting you say that, Lau. It wasn't that bad. I'll tell you for why. Because I regularly worked for Neil Evans on his camp shows, I was quite often against, you know, the guys from that era already, you know, the Blondie Barretts, Johnny Kidds. I'd encounter various other guys along the way. So when I got to Dixon, I knew quite a few of the guys there already, and really that style of what they were doing and everything is you know, it's what I grew up on. It's what what I remember, and I've been doing it a long time. The camps, you kind of ham it up a bit, but it's still essentially, back then anyway, still essentially British wrestling, wasn't it? So it wasn't that much of a culture shock or a change for me in any respect, you know what I mean? I just knew what I had to do when I was in that environment. I certainly never encountered any hostility or felt tense atmosphere in the dressing room or anything like that, really, back then, from what I can remember anyway, you know.
And your style, which I noticed, was a big change. Did you consciously make the decision and see a gap in the market for this British style to really make an impact worldwide?
On an international basis, certainly, because I knew that at that time, like when I started working abroad, not Germany so much, but when I started going to America, which was kind of 98, 99, they hadn't seen the British style, or they weren't familiar with that British style, because for one thing, the World of Sport stuff never got broadcast anywhere else but in England, really. Guys used to come into our country and leave, but they might talk about how technical British wrestlers were, but no one really ever saw that, I don't think. They never saw it on their TV screens or anything like that. And, I just thought to myself, well, how do I stand out from the American guys if I go over there? And the only way I can do that is by doing the stuff that's British, that's known to be a British style, really. Not necessarily by them, because you go over there and you do that, and they're like, "Wow, we've never seen this stuff before." It was interesting, really. You see how even then, like we're talking, like say, beginning of the millennium, 99, 2000, the world was still quite isolated. And, it wasn't such a global thing like it is now. You didn't have the internet wasn't so big as it is now. People didn't have all this technology that they could watch endless hours of footage of different styles from different countries. So it's still quite isolated. And I think just that decision to just stick with that stuff and stand out because of that was what kind of got me ahead at that point,
Did you know all this stuff? Because obviously when I was working with you, we never did any of this stuff.
No.
Did you know all this stuff? Did you go out and learn it, or did you watch it?
No, I did, because I at that time, like I said, I worked near Evans camp shows, but from about 97 onwards, I started working regularly for Premier Promotions in the South.
Yep.
John Fremantle, who puts on really, really traditional English-style shows. And he'd always put me on with the old-school guys. That's where I'd work, the Steve Grays or the Johnny Kidds or the Robbie Brooksides, guys that really, that were really entrenched in that style. So I did, that's where I learned it, and I did know it. And I'd watch endless hours of videos of World of Sport, and I'd pick other things up as well. But it's all quite simple stuff, really. Just as long as you watch it and you study it, it's you're not taking huge bumps, are you? And it's not minutes of intricate combinations, is it really? At the end of the day.
And I think the simplest of things impress, don't
they?
They
do, absolutely.
When they've never seen it before.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it worked. I say, yeah, I did know it, and but then you never stop learning either. It's not like I knew it all, is it?
No, of course you do, Doug. Come on now. So come on. So your big break was the King of the Indies.
Yeah.
Over in America. How did that come about?
That was basically, I did a tour of Northern Ireland, and on the tour was Mike Modest and Chris Daniels. And basically they just went back, when they went back to America, they recommended to the promoter of the King of Indies to book me, because obviously he was looking for, a variation, a variety of different talent to use on his show. So basically that's how it happened. And he contacted me, and I sent him a video, and then it just went from there. So a little bit of luck and talent as well.
This was Roland Alexander, was it?
It was, yeah.
It was. And these shows actually never drew many people at all, did they?
Well, I think he had about 200 each night,
So he lost a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but it got your name out there, and obviously a lot of guys that are well known now was in these tournaments.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're Daniel Bryan and all of these people were in these, and that's where you kind of got your name. And is this where Japan would have come from as well?
Japan came from Ring of Honor, but Ring of Honor came from that tournament because, I don't know if you know that the promoters of Ring of Honor, they saw that tournament and decided that would make the basis for quite a good, kind of pure wrestling promotion. They set up Ring of Honor. Obviously, they brought me in for that because I was in that King of Indies tournament.
See, I'm skipping time here, Doug, you see, aren't I?
Yeah.
Because now, Ring of Honor. Yeah. Tell me about Ring of Honor, because I hate Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Right, I'll be absolutely straight up and honest with you.
Yeah.
I hate Ring of Honor because I'm very much into psychology, interaction with crowd, and those kind of things.
Yeah.
So whenever everyone would say to me, "We need to watch some Ring of Honor," this really, and I attempted to watch it one time for about 10 minutes, and I just hated it. I just hated it. Am I wrong in that?
Not at all. No, I don't want to shit on them too much, but I'm pretty much, I can't watch it myself really, because that might be me now, and I have a lot more experience, and I understand, the finer points of wrestling. But my attitude, even when I was there, was not to be one of those guys that did 100 spots, 1,000 moves. If you watch my matches, they're still quite well structured. I think. I don't know, but I think they're still quite well structured. There might not be much crowd interaction, but a story is still being told in the ring.
Uh-huh.
And, I'm not rushing through 100 different moves, making none of them mean anything. The product as a whole, it didn't really matter to me what I thought of everyone or all the matches, as long as I concentrated on what I did and made sure what I did was right and what the promoter wanted and my own personal view of how I should get over. That's all I really cared about when I was there. Having said that, they obviously appeal to a niche market, and that is what they were aiming for. And they were initially very successful at. I don't know how they are now. I assume they're doing okay. I don't. I kind of drifted away from what they do now. But for the time and what they were trying to achieve, I think it was fine.
And a lot of the guys you were working with have gone on again from that and gone into the WWEs and TNAs, and obviously you were doing a lot with Joe and AJ at the time, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So, and they've, like you, sound like they've moved on from that style a little bit and progressed. So let's talk about back home and where we got together again and spent a lot of time, FWA.
Yeah.
The FWA story is a long and complicated one.
It is.
Just for those that may not have seen FWA, it started, it got big, and it petered out. What's your experience in the FWA? Did you find it all good? Did you enjoy it all, or do you think it was an opportunity wasted?
I think it was taken as far as it could be taken. I enjoyed most of it. Biggest mistake was getting involved in the business side of it, which was probably where I stopped enjoying it so much, as you could probably appreciate, knowing the background to the business side of it, or lack of. I think they got to a point where they grew too quickly and they tried to take steps that were beyond their means at the time. What it was like. What it was like, Stevie. It was kind of when it started. I don't know. When did you start? When did you get there?
I came in about Uprising 2.
Oh, okay. Well, prior to then, it was growing at a lovely steady rate, and up to Uprising 1, everything was kosher. It was going along very well, and it built nicely. In Uprising 2, it was still doing okay. I think, and then. When they were getting TV deals and that's when things got a little bit above their station, and that's when, obviously problems started, I think. And obviously not having any kind of business plan or business model behind the facade of what people saw was another problem,
Yeah. I think it all became a bit too much, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
And you think if somebody had been in there with a good business mind and a business plan and a business model, do you think with the talent that they had and that talent being nurtured, do you think it could have gone on?
Yeah, I think so, because in my opinion, the talent around nowadays is infinite, well, not infinitely, but a lot better than what we had then. Taking nothing away from the guys that were there.
Yeah, but everything's
people now, the wrestlers now, and we'll talk about this probably later. They take so much more time, effort, and kind of take the whole job more seriously than they did kind of back then. I think even the guys that are in the FWA still kind of took it as a little bit of a hobby, not really expecting to get any further than they did. I don't know, but it was mainly fun. I think for maybe from '99 up to 2003, it was good fun. Yeah.
And you got to work with a lot of good guys in FWA.
Absolutely.
Who were some of the guys you got to work with in FWA? Because they literally brought people over for you to work with. Didn't they?
Jerry Lynn and Chris Daniels. I worked. Chris Hamrick was fun. Hoovy I worked. I worked a lot of guys. It was It was fun time, you know.
It was the Doug Williams show, wasn't it?
Well, I was in the main event.
I'm joking.
It was interesting, really, because all I was the holder of the belt, and like everyone else had a gimmick, and all I did was, he's the champion.
You hold the belt and
that was my
and have
gimmick.
the wrestling match. Yeah. I remember Uprising 2. This is when I realised that the business was passing me by. I came in the changing rooms, and I think you was on with